colorful canisters, propelling dangerous highs.
You didn't even know.
No, at all. Was completely blindsided.
Nitrous oxide used in dentists' offices and coffee shops, now used as a recreational drug.
This is the review. Get them while you can. This definitely won't be legal forever.
We investigate where and how nitrous oxide is being sold, what parents need to know about a deadly trend.
But parents probably have no idea what that is.
Watch High Stakes now.
Colorful canisters with a sinister secret popping up in vape stores, gas stations, and all over the internet, offering a potentially deadly high. These might seem new, but you may already be familiar with what's inside. It's the science behind that serenity you feel when you breathe deeply through a mask in the dentist chair, and the pressured air that pumps the fluffy texture into the whipped cream topping on your favorite dessert. Nitrous oxide may have legitimate legal uses for people in dental clinics and commercial kitchens, but it's becoming an increasingly popular product for an unexpected group: young people using it as a recreational drug.
But parents probably have no idea what that is. If they saw it in their kid's backpack, they wouldn't know.
Unaware that nitrous oxide is readily available for sale with little oversight across the country, marketed in colorful packaging with enticing flavors. It's sold not just in smaller containers known as whipped cream chargers that give a single high, but in tanks big enough to supply dozens of hits by filling nitrous balloons or inhaling straight from the bottle.
Man, we're told, man.
We 21. We 21. No 20. We 21.
Social media shining a light on a dangerous and potentially deadly trend, one that has many parents in the dark.
Was completely blindsided and had no clue about it.
There's a tragic irony to Candy Morris's life. For years, she was licensed and trained to use nitrous oxide to bring comfort to patients in the dental office where she works. She had no idea it would one day become the source of pain nothing can ever soothe.
To know that my son's life was taken because somebody wanted to get high was a very hard pill to swallow.
Morris's son, Maddox Bias, was a recent high school graduate and aspiring carpenter, trading the hardwood bats he loved for a career using lumber to remodel homes to build a life in. His would be cut short on this Oklahoma roadway.
They pulled us into a room and told us that he had been in an accident.
It was February 2024. Maddox was riding in a car driven by the woman he was working for. Prosecutors say she was huffing nitrous behind the wheel when she passed out and lost control. The car crashing into trees, the impact stopping Maddox's heart not once but twice. He was brought back to life just long enough to give his mother time to figure out the impossible: how to let him go for good.
What do you say to him in those 14 hours, holding his hand?
I loved on him. I told him how proud I was of him and that he was the best son. I find peace in that. The last thing I said to him was that I loved him.
He knew.
He knew.
Morris is now on a mission to make sure no one else pays the cost of this high-stakes game, which centers around a legal product that she and many others believe is being sold for illicit use in plain sight. It's something our national investigative team confirmed is happening across the country. Nitrous tanks marketed as whipped cream chargers and culinary products being sold not at restaurant supply stores, but at dozens of vape shops, gas stations, and convenience stores from Pennsylvania to Tennessee, Arizona to Oregon, and the Carolinas. All of it advertised alongside e-cigarettes and tobacco, and often on open display next to cannabis products. We also discovered a robust online marketplace for nitrous tanks, with retail giants and smaller companies selling eye-catching, mouth-watering options like bubble gum, cookies and cream, and strawberry splash-flavored bottles. They're marketed as food-grade products, pure culinary gas, some with disclaimers about what it's supposed to be used for and warnings not to inhale it. But the tanks we bought online and in person are big enough to produce 20 to 30 gallons of whipped cream with just one bottle. And the product reviews often reveal their actual use, saying things like "best high ever" and "fire, I can feel the whippets in my body."
So this is the review for one product where it's being sold online. It says, outstanding, hard to believe it's even possible. Get them while you can. This definitely won't be legal forever.
It's maddening. Maddening. My fear is that it's getting in the hands of these young kids and that, you know, that somebody else is going to die from it.
Our team filed dozens of records requests in cities nationwide, obtaining statistics, investigative case files, and autopsy reports detailing at least 50 nitrous-related deaths in the last 5 years, including one man found dead in his bed cradling a nitrous tank with the spout still in his mouth. Another discovered by friends who also found nitrous bottles in his truck, car, and home, including 3 tanks just in his bedroom. Studies show injuries and ER visits are on the rise. America's Poison Center saw a nearly 60% spike last year in intentional nitrous exposures, and an uptick in adverse reports to the Food and Drug Administration, prompting a public warning from the agency in March. The FDA highlighting the dangers of inhaling nitrous oxide and naming products like Miami Magic, Baking Bad, and Galaxy Gas, as well as major retailers who sell them, including Walmart, Amazon, and eBay.
Is the FDA doing enough by issuing this kind of warning?
It's a start. I'm willing to allow, for some time for the FDA to get stood up now under this new administration. My constant complaint about the FDA is that they talk, but they don't act. And now we need to see action.
Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, who previously led the crackdown on the sale of vapes and e-cigarettes targeted to young people, believes there's room for stronger federal regulation on nitrous. Right now, individual cities and states are stepping in. Some, like Oklahoma, have introduced bills following the deaths of people like Maddox Bias. Louisiana took steps after reporting by our New Orleans station exposed the extent of the problem there. But it's a patchwork of regulation that varies greatly. At least 7 states restrict the age of sales to minors. More than a dozen ban illicit use of inhalants without specifically naming nitrous. And so far, only a few specifically make sales illegal if the seller knows it would be used improperly.
It shouldn't depend on where you live in terms of how your children are protected from this substance. I think that this is something that we should act upon.
So when a product is marketed in a gray area and it's not quite clear whether it's outside the boundaries of the authorized areas, enforcement can become complex, factually specific, and therefore resource intensive for the FDA.
Kathy Hoke leads the Legal Resource Center for Public Health Policy at the University of Maryland School of Law. We took her some of the nitrous tanks we purchased.
These products say on here, not for medical use, do not inhale. How clear does that keep these companies in terms of their liability?
So again, that helps them for sure, because they are going to say that they have put on the product what the use of the product is. But if you look at the whole circumstances, and again, the rest of the packaging doesn't strike me as something that Gordon Ramsay is going to use in Hell's Kitchen.
Although Hope believes there are legal avenues for the FDA to clamp down on the marketing of nitrous oxide, recent sweeping cuts at the agency make it an unlikely priority. That leaves civil lawsuits to potentially propel change, she says, along with state and local enforcement and conversations between regulators and the industry about the harm that's happening and how to prevent it.
They do have a responsibility to make sure that the product is being marketed consistent with the law. And so they can't turn their eye to what's actually happening in the real world.
Candy Morris's world is now different in ways she never imagined. She swapped the cheering section at the stadium for visits to her son's baseball-themed gravesite. Hits and home runs now come as victories in her new cause, making sure Maddox's life wasn't lost in vain.
I just have to be that voice, and I think that maybe this was what my destiny was. And so that's where I try to draw strength from that and just remind myself to keep going, because he would want me to keep going.
Thanks for watching this Investigate TV production. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube or check out all of our investigations on investigateTV.com.